You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com. And now, it's time for the show that breaks down the options market from unusual activity alerts to market analysis, strategy overviews, listener questions, and much more. If it involves puts and calls, then our all-star panel will break it down. It's time to hit the Option Block with your host, Mark Longo from the Options Insider Media Group, and co-hosts, Uncle Mike TOSAW from St. Charles Wealth Management, along with Mark the Greasy Meatball Sebastian and Andrew the Rock Lobster GIOVINAZZI from OptionPit.com. And now, get ready to hit the Option Block.
All right, everybody. That music means we are back once again for the bi-weekly options feast known far and wide as the Option Block. My name is Mark Longo from theoptionsinsider.com, as well as, of course, from the ever compulsory, you have to listen, you have no choice, Options Insider Radio Network. Reminding you, of course, you like what you hear, keep rating and reviewing. It does help all you new folks continue to discover all of the goodness that is floating around on the network. And, of course, if you want more goodness in your life, and hey, who doesn't? theoptionsinsider.com/pro is the place to go. All sorts of fun stuff. Great pro Q&As. Because you like you folks so much, you guys are getting another double pro week. We just had the Oracle of New Hampshire, Mr. Matt Amberson, on yesterday, tackling all your questions today, because you guys have so many crazy questions about what's going on in the world of crypto, how that's impacting things like vol and skew, and what the hell's going on out there. We got another great pro Q&A coming at you folks. Mr. Greg Magadini from Genesis Volatility. Going to answer all those questions and a whole bunch more. We know you got them, so get them in over there. Then, of course, you get the pro podcast feed. You get Options Oddities, where we talk ourselves into all sorts of crazy trades, as well as a live access, great giveaways, a whole bunch more. theoptionsinsider.com/pro is the place to go. Don't delay. You want to get in there for today's pro Q&A. It's going to be a good one. And let's see if we got a good one in store for us today. First, joining us from the dark, the stormy, the ever-turbulent shores of Maine, we are joined once again by the rockingest of lobsters, Mr. Andrew GIOVINAZZI from OptionPit.com, taking a break from his lone sentry duty against the onrushing waves of clam pirates. Mr. Rock Lobster, welcome back to the program, sir.
I don't know where do I go from an entry like that? That's like world class, man.
I set you up. All you can do is fail now.
I can't wait to get into the FTX thing, because I could have sworn there's this guy, Uncle Mike something, who's been talking about this crypto thing for a while. But anyway, let's just get into the show.
Well, since you have invoked him, we are also joined by the uncleest of Mikes, a.k.a. Uncle Mike TOSAW from St. Charles Wealth Management, also known far and wide as the biggest crypto bull around. Uncle Mike, welcome back to the program, sir.
I decline the title of being the world's biggest crypto bull around. I respectfully decline that.
How did I know? You might take, as the Rock Lobster would say, some umbrage at that as we keep on rolling right on into the trading block.
It's time to break down the latest topics, trades, and trends in the world of options. It's time for the Trading Block.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Trading Block, the portion of the show we break down what the heck is trading And if you want to hear Uncle Mike talk crypto, just stay tuned. He'll be coming up a little bit later today on TWIFO. I'm going to force him to talk about some crypto. It's going to be fun. But before we get there, let's go out and see what's lighting up our tapes right now. And the markets were looking kind of red, looking like they were kind of trending down. It seems like we're heading more towards a mixed and potentially even a green day. By the end of the show, we could all be in the green. Right now, we're looking kind of hovering around unched. The NASDAQ and the Dow are pretty much unched. Dow up slightly, NASDAQ off slightly. S&P still off about a third of a point. Closing on a little bit less. Of course, that means it has come off the lows it was earlier this morning. It was threatening earlier today to maybe break through that 3,900 level. Didn't quite get there. Now we're hanging out. Looks like we're heading closer to 39.5 again. So we're hanging out still around that 4,000 level. I think next week's question of the week is going to be pretty much along those lines of what are we going to see next? 5,000 or 3,000. A contentious pull. I know a lot of people are going to get all sorts of fired up about that. You know what's not really fired up today is the VIX. It's up, but it's not exactly going crazy. And if we continue this rally back up into the later parts of the session, it's going to go right back down again. It was at about a 24.10 when we kicked off the show, up a little over a point, about 1.2 points from where it was on Monday. VVIX, the vol of vol, hanging out at about an 81, down a whopping 1 point from last show. VXX, it's back in action, listeners. 1670, up a whopping 0.2 of a point. Deal with it. UVXY at a 9 even, up 0.15. SVIX, 12 3/4, down 0.1 of a point. And UVIX 8.5, up a whopping 0.15. Not a heck of a lot going on out here, listeners. And VolQ 2840, up almost a point, about 0.9 here on the show. And because he's just itching, he's just dying to talk all things BTC, we must start with the uncleist of Mike's, Mr. Uncle Mike TOSAW from St. Charles Wealth Management. Uncle Mike, how many FTT tokens did you hold this week, sir?
The only BTC that I talk about is buy to close on option products. The slash BTC with the symbol by it, it's vanished like a fart in the wind as far as I'm concerned. So.
Ooh, that's the closest we get to Uncle Mike swearing here on the show.
Yeah, pretty much. So I think that just...
By the way, that wasn't Uncle Mike's swear right there. That wasn't Uncle Mike's swear.
It kind of counts. We might have to go for the explicit tag now.
Yeah.
So what was the swear word?
We're going to go NC-17 now.
Hide the children.
Because I said fart? Was that the swear word? I didn't even realize it.
That was pretty much it. That's pretty strong language for you, sir.
Okay, well, so then, so for all of the people concerned, then BTC has the futures contract has pretty much all but disappeared like flatulence in the wind. Is that better?
There we go. Now we can remove our explicit tag. The parents can uncover the ears of the children.
There we go.
It is safe.
There we go. Now, I mean, just looking at this, what can I say? Bitcoin's ridiculous. It's been ridiculous. It's just a bunch of hippies that were probably getting high one night and said, "Oh, let's start up our own currency, man. The system's wrong, man. Let's just start it up ourselves." And that's probably how it started. I don't even know, but that's just kind of the roots of the nonsense that exists with it. But
that's an impressive hippie impersonation, I must add.
Well, thank you. But anyway, back to real money with what's happening right now. The talk, of course, is inflation, as it's always been. We had quite the dip this morning pre-market with the S&P, so we were down in the futures to 39.12. Futures are back up to 39.59 now, so we do have a shot at going green on the day today. So this is it could be a green day, so hopefully the market's saying right now, when I come around, in honor of Green Day the band, and it'll come around and become a green day today in the marketplace itself. We've been rallying a little bit in bonds recently. I think a lot of it's due to just ultimately we're still kind of living off of last week in that when the CPI was a better number than expected, the market went berserk to the upside. And so that's obviously a good thing for us bulls out there. I think with where we're at right now, yesterday it appeared that Target kind of disappointed a little bit with their earnings, so the market didn't really like that too much. That was one bit of news that's happening. And then just with everything that's going on, I mean, we have the what is it, the FTX, FTC, BTC, whatever's going on with crypto, just kind of throwing in a monkey wrench into those of us that actually like to invest in serious things that actually mean something besides what the hippies invest in, apparently. I don't know. But we have that. And we have oil coming down a little bit today, down 3%. Crude oil is. Net gas is up 4% on the day. So we have a little bit of a bid in commodities, but for the time being, I think that we're kind of in a holding pattern. I think we will be relatively flat. Don't get me wrong, I wouldn't complain about a 500-point upswing in the S&P, but I think we're going to be relatively flat until we get some more Fed news, some more PPI, CPI, or some type of inflation news, because that's really what's going to be the market mover at this point. And that's what I'm seeing.
Uncle Mike, you would have loved the visual that I was greeted with earlier this week when I walked in the doors of the big FIA conference here in Chicago. So for listeners, if you don't know, that is the Futures Industry Association, is the big event where the global derivatives industry descends on Chicago for a week. And I was greeted, Uncle Mike, as I walked in the door by people scrambling to erase all the signage that had FTX anywhere on it, because they were the platinum marquee sponsor of the event. And they were scrubbing them off the walls and hastily pasting other signs over. So yeah, it was interesting times, sir. They had snuck their tentacles that far in to be the marquee up there with your CMEs and your NASDAQs and everybody else right there. FTX, marquee stage sponsor. So that was a bit of a black eye for the biz over there this week. Mr. Rock Lobster, I know you were just sitting there on the shores of Maine, twiddling your fingers and chortling with glee as you saw all of this FTX madness unfold. What's been lighting up your tape since the last time we chatted, sir?
Well, I'm not gleeful that people have lost money, but it's one of those things that we have said on this show multiple times that, you know, if it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, if it's too good to be true, there could be something to that, you know, on the too good to be true front. So my thought on this is that it is very unfortunate, you know, what's happened with the FTX thing. The only thing I could figure out is, you know, these coin, whatever, like, I don't know if Coinbase is doing this, so it's only speculation. But at least let's say FTX, right, where they took customer funds. And they took those customer funds and somehow they were unsegregated from the funds of the business. And they went and they bought stuff with it. And they bought their own tokens. And they might have loaned that money to another fund. And that fund went and bought more tokens on margin. And then what I find odd is this is all stuff that we already knew was bad, like in 1930. You know, this is like, you know, early stock market jobber stuff from the turn of the century, from the 1800s, and all this kind of stuff. So, it's just sad that it's happening, and you know, you can't use a currency as an asset that has such a widely fluctuating number, you know, and use that, you know, for margin purposes like they were doing. And they were just spending it, it looks like, just from reading the news reports. So that's why you have segregated customer funds. So I thought this was, I hate to say the term settled science, but I thought this was kind of a settled thing, you know, just because the money is in your exchange doesn't mean you have access to that particular money. You know, people make fun of IB because their margin department is so aggressive, right? You know, if you have a margin call, like boom, you're all of a sudden you see you're being, you know, your trade's being blown out, and boom. Well, the reason that is because they want to protect customer funds. That's why you have it. So your position was too big. So when you look at this stuff, like it's sad that this is happening. And what I would, all these exchanges, if they're somehow using customer funds to buy other coins, and then, because the daisy chain was so big of coins going up, like that's a serious problem. I would not want to have any money in any one of these exchanges because there's zero transparency from what I can tell. The bizarre, and this is how the world works sometimes, but I find the most likely outcome of all of this, and I could be wrong, is that all the crypto coins just go away. But we're stuck with a digital currency that the Fed can essentially have control over and turn your money off whenever they want to. And I know that digital currency is already being tested, right? So they could track the digital currency through the ether, right, via the blockchain. So what I find, and somehow I know, like, this is, I'm just going to say I'm going with gravity here, that's what's going to end up with at all of this, and where we're going to give the government way too much control. So there you go. There's my tinfoil hat. But again, I think this is going to shake. I don't think this is going to get any better for crypto. I think it's just going to get worse, because I think this is probably, again, this is speculation, industry standard practice. The fact that these other exchanges are kind of looking for capital is not a good sign. But again, I'm happy to be wrong. I'm happy for the listeners to say, hey, you're totally wrong. Everything's going to be cool. And I hope it is. But I'm not super hopeful. And the only thing is we're going to end up with this stupid digital currency where the government's going to see where everybody's money go. And they could, potentially have some control that was never intended in the, in our Constitution. So we'll see. Again, that's definitely my tinfoil hat, though. The propeller is spinning madly right now.
You're loving yourself some digital currency. Anything catching your eye in the world of vol, sir?
Well, here we have, let's see here. We were down 1% today, right? A little over 1.2%. I did not sell any of my SPY put spreads at all today. I got kind of the short SPY, short VIX on. And the reason why is I've got a lot of time left, and they're all in touch. Now, as far as a day trade goes, if it was a day trade, I definitely would have pulled the trigger and sold them. But because vol's not, VIX is slowly going down. The question is do we hold that huge rally that we had last week? And I would say right now, VIX has peaked and VIX is still higher than we were after we had that rally. We haven't gone down to below that level yet. So I'm still waiting, adjusted for the weekend, to see VIX get a little lower. So the fact that VIX can't get off the mat, now it got off the mat really fast this week when we thought the Russians lobbed a missile into Poland, and apparently it was a Ukrainian missile. But a level I'm looking at is I would like to see us get back to right around a 23. If vol gets back to there, I'm going to say that the market has pretty much accepted this rally, and that the pace of Fed hikes, at least from the market's point of view, is going to slow down somewhat. They're not going to go away. They're just not going to be as aggressive. So I think that's something to watch. If we could get to some lower volatility numbers, I think my number for this week for vol views was maybe 2190. I think I have to remember what it was. But I thought we could easily see like 22 and a half. Or 22, right around 22 area for sure. So I'm looking to see that. So remember, we've got the holiday next week. A lot of the short-term volatilities got super compressed here. So when you look at, let's say, short-term SPY vol, we're already down. Again, remember, this is adjusted for the holiday, but the no quarter volatility, they're taking the holiday day out, but the no quarters are 1861 for vol. Now, I don't think we have had a day where real intraday vol has been less than 32% in 2 weeks. And the note quarter vol for next week is already down to 1861. So the way that vol looks like, even with the holiday, is there's a pretty aggressive drop in the short-term vol, which usually means the market's not going to do very much, because there certainly isn't, the buyers are not out there in vol land. So the question is how low we go, and probably the only thing holding VIX up at all at this point is the next Fed meeting is between now and then. So we'll see how low it can actually go.
How low can it go on the old limbo pole? Let's see how low or perhaps high the volume numbers are getting out there today. Let's start in index land, listeners. VIX just within spitting distance of 300K, 298,000 contracts on the tape out there in VIX land. So a decent day. Again, the ADV hanging out north of 600,000 again, 612. So that's moving back in the right direction for all of you who are wringing your hands that VIX was below 600K again. Back up in the right direction. SPY just a tick under 5 million, 4.99 million for SPY. The ADV pretty much exactly 8 million contracts. So SPY on pace to hit that again today. 1.62 million contracts. The ADV 2.83 million. We've seen a lot of paper out in the S of late, so 1.62 seems comparatively quiet. But that would be just a few months ago. That would have been a banger day out there in the S. Small caps, at least the IWM flavor. If you want to talk rut and everything else, stay tuned for TWIFO in a little bit, listeners. 534,000 contracts on the tape in small caps land. The ADV 943, so still within spitting distance of a million from an ADV perspective. Doesn't seem like we're going to hit that today, but we shall see. We shall see. Perhaps small caps will kick it into gear second half of the session. And the Q's at about 1.64 million contracts right now. The ADV 2.81 million. We are still in the middle of it, listeners. Earnings season. So we got some names popping off here this week. Number 10 cost you 190,000 contracts to break into the top 10 today. That is not a heck of a lot. That gets you to the Rock Lobster's new favorite name, Coinbase. 49.70 is where it's trading right now, up about 90 cents or nearly 2% on the day. Looks like it had a low of about 45.20 and a high of pretty close to where it is right now. That was kind of the range we had on the day. So over a $4 range. Interesting. Again, good for only 190,000. So that shows you it's kind of a light single name day out there today. We jump up a little bit to number 9, good old Alphabet, aka Google, 233,000 contracts on the tape for them. Then we jump again to Netflix, 234,000 contracts. They've been popping onto our radar a little bit of late. We don't usually see them in the top 10. In the last week, we've seen them a few times. They're getting the wind taken out of their sails right now, listeners. Off nearly 8 handles, 760, about 2.5%, trading right around 298.5 right now. So they're coming for good old Netflix today. Looks like some folks are saying they're dubious of the new ad-supported tier. Whatever it is, something's driving them south, listeners, doing 234,000 contracts. All the way up at number 7 before we finally break the 300K level, listeners. That gets us 312,000. That's the artist formerly known as Facebook, now Meta, of course, trading 111 and about a third, off nearly $2 today. Of course, you know this name was below $100 not too long ago. We just did that question of the week about a week and a half ago. And it was, which would you rather buy, Amazon or Meta? And they were both hanging out at about 100. You folks overwhelmingly chose Amazon, and at least for the last 10 days or so, Meta was the choice because the street loves a good layoff, and they just drove this thing north the second they announced they were slashing jobs. Let's see. Number 6, back to the chip zone, listeners. AMD. Now we're starting to see some respectable numbers. 458,000 contracts on the tape for AMD, up about $1.40, nearly 2%, hanging out right around $74 right now is AMD. Number 5, we go out to China. Baba, 538,000. They had earnings recently, so we shall get into that, I think, in a little bit in the earnings reports. But $84 right now, up nearly $6, 7.5%. Nice little move there for Baba. Apparently, all is right with the world again in China. Number 4, the aforementioned Amazonians, 627,000 contracts on the tape, hanging out at a 96 even right now, off about $1.12 on the day. So they are back below 100 as Meta just dancing all the way north of 100 there right now. So again, the near-term winner of that poll, clearly Meta, even though you folks longer term seem like you're more into Amazon. Then we go up again, number 3, the chip zone getting high today. NVDA, 784,000 contracts. NVIDIA all the way up at number 3 spot 158.60, off about half a buck or so right now. Again, we'll get into that a little bit as well. They had their earnings. Number two, yes, I said number two, it's the fruit company. 843,000 contracts. They're up $2.50, trading a little bit north of 150 right now, 151 and about a third. So a far cry from, they were starting to flirt with that low 130s level, which is getting pretty close to the 52-week low, listeners, at 129.04. They didn't quite get there before they rebounded and led the market back north and looking green again today. I've said it before. I'll say it again. The market hates it on days when Apple is red. So turning it green, lifting all boats out there today. And of course, number one, you don't need me to tell you, it's Tesla, listeners. 1.2 million contracts on the tape today. Tesla a little bit shy of 185, about 184.90, off about exactly $2 on the day for Tesla. Let's go out to the earnings front because we are still in it, listeners. Hot season, hot week again this week. Big retailers popping off this week at Walmart, Home Depot, Krispy Kreme on Tuesday. Wednesday, we have Target, Lowe's, and everyone's favorite, Uncle Mike's favorite, I know, Cisco. And then back to China with Alibaba today, Macy's, Kohl's, BJ's, and Stone Cold, a.k.a. Stone Co. And then tomorrow we've got Foot Locker. Luckily for you folks, because we like you, hot off the presses, we have the earnings move results, earnings season, and earnings trades reports coming at you courtesy of our friends over there in Orat's Land. Let's look at a couple of these really quickly. We have the earnings move results reports for the names popping off this morning and last night after the bell. Let's go to Macy's first. This morning before the bell, going into their announcement, 1971 is where they were trading. They're pricing in 11.3%. They delivered 11.9%. So pretty much hanging out in line with expectations there, listeners. Baba, we were just talking about them. 78.16 is where they were trading going into their announcement. They're pricing in 7.9%. They delivered 6.9%. Of course, this is the immediate post-earnings blush, listeners, trying to measure that immediate earnings impact. If you waited a little bit, like right now, you would see Baba's actually up to about 7.3%. So closing in on that straddle as well. BJ's going out to the wholesale clubs out there today before the bell. 78 and a third is where they were trading going into their announcement. They were pricing in 8.6%. They delivered 6.2%. So a little bit of underperformance there as well. And then we go out to NVDA. They were yesterday after the bell, listeners. They went into their announcement 159.10. They were pricing in 8%. They delivered 2.1%, listeners. They've given up even that now. They're only moving about 1/3% right now. My goodness, they were 159.10 going into their announcement. They're about 158.5 right now. So that's a whole heck of a lot of nothing for a name that has been known to move a bit, NVIDIA. So premium sellers looking pretty good out there today, listeners. In terms of names still coming up, we still have a bunch. Stone Cold, like I mentioned, after the bell. AMAT, haven't talked about them in a while. They're today after the bell as well. And Dell coming up next week. Zoom, we got a whole bunch. You got literally hundreds of tickers for you folks to sink your teeth into over the coming weeks out here. In terms of the season right now, listeners, the season hanging out 119%. That's pretty robust given the average is only 92%. And that's even ticked up. The average was hanging out at about 88%. So 119%. That's a banger season, listeners. The lead week 2, 208% outperformance. You got pretty much 2-to-1. For all the juice they priced in with those straddles, you pretty much got 2-to-1 movement versus the juice. I don't think I've ever seen that as long as we've been running these numbers. So that was quite the excessive outperformance week. And then this week, no slouch either, 136%. Let's just run through them really quickly. Week 1, 105%. Week 2, the explosive 208%. Week 3, 108%. Week 4, 124%. Week 5, 105%. And week 6 right now, 136%, all that averaging out to 119%. Again, that's about as good as I've seen it since we've been crunching these numbers. And we've been doing it for a little while now, listeners, since before the pandemic. So intriguing stuff out there. A couple more trades, can I interest you in some Macy's calendars? So we got 2 of them going up here, as well as a couple more calendars going up out there in GPS. So it's a long calendar day, listeners. Check out all the trades we got going up. Actually, we're taking off the Macy's calendars today, and we're adding the GPS calendar. So check those out for yourselves over there in the earnings trades report, listeners. You know where to go. TheOptionsInsider.com. Click on the Options News and Articles tab because it's time for us to go into the Odd Block.
It's time to break down the most interesting, unusual, and downright questionable options activity that's been identified by theoptionsinsider.com. It's time for The Odd Block.
All right, everybody. It's time to get weird. It is time to get wild. It is time to get whimsical. It is time for the Odd Block. Let us unleash the eye of Sauron, see what it fixes its fiery gaze upon today. Now, let's kick things off. You know, it's an interesting day, listeners. When the first one on our radar is Full Truck Alliance Company Limited. Ticker symbol YUM, YMM. Obviously a newcomer to the Odd Block. This is an ADR out of China. I just love the name. Full Truck Alliance. What does that even mean? But we know anything Chinese related has been moving a wee bit of late. Today, not moving so much, only up about 7 cents, trading right around $7. Let's see. On the year, a little bit of a different story. A year ago, trading pretty much the high for the year, 1643. And it's pretty much been mostly down ever since. It sold off to $4.65 in March. Then it tried to rally again, got up to about almost $10 in July, $9.41. And that was kind of all she wrote. It sold off again down to $4.12. That was in November, early November. Since then, it actually has rallied nicely. It's gone in the last month. It is up nearly 20%. So it's had a nice little run in the last month, trading almost $7 right now, $6.98. So maybe trying to turn the tide out there. We shall see. Let's see what our Eye of Sauron found out there today. Doesn't seem like our Eye of Sauron friend thinks that tide is turning anytime soon. But I have to say they're getting a fair amount of juice for this one, so I can't really hold it against them. We got 10,000 of the March 7.5. I said we're hanging out right about a 7 right now, listeners. So 50 cent out of the money calls going up for $1.22. Kind of splitting the uprights, getting a little bit of extra juice. They were bid about $1.15 when these went up. This is almost a triple-digit vol. This is a 98 volatility if you are intrigued, listeners. And let's see. So, and there obviously are earnings between now and when these calls go away in March. The next announcement is going to be in a few days, November 23rd. So they are selling these calls full in the face of having earnings coming up in a couple of days. And we all know earnings and Chinese-related ADRs, these things could move like crazy. So intriguing stuff. Mr. Rock Lobster, looks like someone is saying, you know, triple-digit vol in my new favorite name, YUM, a.k.a. Full Truck Alliance. I will take that. I will sell the hell out of these 7.5s and take my $1.22 and live to fight another day, sir. What say you?
You know what? The only thing that would have been better if somehow the handle on this stock was YMMY.
Yeah, yummy. That would have been better. Yes.
Then we would have profiled it every day for the next 10 years, the next decade.
Yummy update. What's it doing right now? It's up a penny.
What is it doing now? So as I had to take my tinfoil hat off for a minute because I was spinning. We saw this look like actually kind of a juicy buy right to me. Again, we're a little not really seeing the stock buying side, but I mean, you know as well as I do in the old days, you know, the customer would come in here and they would want this and they're looking for a bid and looking, you know, and it always ended up being a buy right. Somebody owns some stock. So, but not a bad chunk of premium going out there.
No, I don't hate this one at all. That's a fair amount of juice.
It's like 20% out there. I think that's for a buy right type trade. I think, hey, I think that works pretty good. As far as the company goes, I mean, their symbol is Yummy Truck Company, you know. So buyer beware. That's all I'm going to say there on this one. But at least as a buy right, it doesn't look too bad.
At least you know with them, you're getting the full truck. No half trucks with them. The Full Truck Alliance, you're getting the whole truck. So you don't have to worry about that. Yeah, the D7.5s are trading 50 cents at 70 pretty much. So you can get 50, 60 cents on those just going out to December if you were so inclined, listener. So there you go. If you're looking for a little bit of juice, perhaps Yummy Full Truck Alliance. I'm going to make myself crack up. We have to keep on rolling here, but an intriguing one. Usually we see these things, listeners, and they're going up for, 25 cents, maybe 30 cents, maybe 45, 50 cents if they're really getting rich. $1.22, it's a fair amount of juice. Now, usually these things are priced for a reason, so this thing could be poised to pop, but either way, intriguing stuff. Nonetheless, we'll keep an eye on good old Yum. Come back to the Full Truck Alliance. Let's see if we can find anything that is as exciting as the yummy Full Truck Alliance. Let's go out to everyone's favorite, TPG Inc. Ticker symbol, appropriately enough, TPG. Trading right now 35 and about 3/4, off about 90 cents or about 2.4% on the year. Kind of been a wasted year, except for the last month or so. It seemed like a year ago they were trading $34, so they were up slightly on the year. Then they actually sold off down to their low for the year in July of around, looks like $23 pretty much. And then they bounced from there. So they've actually had a nice little run here the second half of the year. And just earlier in November, they were trading $30 again. And they shot up recently up to looks like their high for the year of $44.43. That was just last Friday. So they had some nice news out there. And then coming right back down the other side here. So the spike at the end looks like a little biotech spike, just straight up and right back down again. Trading right now 35 3/4 today, off of nearly 90 cents again today. Either way, it looks like somebody here is drawing a pretty at the money line in the sand right now. He's got 5,156 of the NOV 35 puts. Remember, I said we're trading right around 35 3/4, listeners. Looks like they sold these this morning for 40 cents right off the bid. This market was fantastic. It was 35 cents at 80. By the way, worth noting, they are going ex-div, so bear that in mind on this. The stock was pretty much right around here when these went up, and it's like they already had their earnings, probably hence that little bump we saw last week, because their next announcement is not until March 27th. So Mr. Rock Lobster, looks like somebody coming in, and these are effectively a one-day put right now. So I guess they're not too scared of catching this fallen knife. If this thing is past its prologue, it could sell off again well below the 35 strike. It's selling off $1 again today. So kind of rolling the dice with a one-day put sale here in everyone's new favorite, TPG, sir. What say you?
Yes. TPG, alternative investment for high net worth individuals. I just remember them as claim to fame during the financial crisis. They owned a lot of mortgage-backed securities that were of dubious value.
So you call them up and they buy the FTT tokens for you. I see how that
works. Exactly. I think yes, they were definitely, and I believe they were one of the more active. I think they sued everybody. They sued S&P, Standard & Poor's, all the ratings agencies. They're like, wait a minute, you said these are all AAA, and they went to zero. How does that work? So anyway, that's the only thing I remember from TPG, but they survived apparently. So they're still managing assets. And I think in this one, I think this is a fairly aggressive line in the sand put. And it appears that their earnings have already come out. So I think they're going for I think they're going for a little 40-cent love. I believe they're already down on these puts, because they're 45.60 going for the overnight trade. It's a way to, they want to buy stock at 34.5 or 34.60. So
I got a feeling
if you want to do that, it's a reasonable trade.
I got a feeling they're going to be holding the fallen knife on this one. We'll come back to these on Monday's show, listeners, because we'll know obviously how they fared. I got a feeling they're going to be wearing it on these, but hey, who knows? We could see a rebound. Just the aggressive nature of the pop it just had, and the aggressive way that's coming off the other side. This person could end up wearing it, or they could be laughing all the way to the bank. 40 cents, 5,000 times, listeners. We shall see. Let's keep on going. Let's mix it up a little bit. Let's find something a little bit different to close us out here on the Odd Block. Let's get some upside love here. Let's go out to everyone's other favorite name, because if you're not talking TPG and Yum in the morning when you're checking all your tickers, you're going out to Sid. Yes, Companhia Siderúrgica Nacional S.A., a.k.a. the National Steel Company of Brazil, ticker symbol SID, S-I-D. Another newcomer. I think we're 3 for 3 on newcomers here in the Odd Block today. So that's always fun. Shows you it's a bit of a esoteric day out there, listeners. SID trading 266 right now, off 14 cents, or about 5% today. On the year, let's see, a year ago it was trading 380, and then it got all the way up to almost $6, $5.96. Looks like that was around the April time frame. And they kind of gave it back by May 12th. They were trading 330. Then they tried to rally. They got back up to 4 3/4 on June 2nd. And that was kind of their last gasp. They sold off down to 245 on July 14th. And they've been floating around this mid 2s to low 3s range pretty much ever since. And it seems like, Mr. Rock Lobster, someone might think that there's some upside to come. And again, these are NOVs, so this is another daily swing for the fences. People are lining up their scratchers here in NOV expiration. 3,963 of the NOV 2/2 went up today for 20 cents. 20 cents, lifting the offer as a 140 vol, as meaningful as these numbers are with 1 day to go. The stock was pretty much right here. So this is just another swing at the bat, Mr. Rock Lobster. They think we're going to be at 270 by tomorrow, 270 or bust. In their defense, we were there earlier this morning. The high for the day is 275. So these were in the money not too long ago. Well, they're in the money now, but they were looking good at the 20 cent level not too long ago. Intriguing stuff. We have since given up the ghost a wee bit out there. So Mr. Rock Lobster, people are just coming. They're just old school swinging for the fences here on earnings day. What say you? Buying some 1 day to go calls in SID.
Yeah, well, you look at Brazil, they got all kinds of, let's just call it a little social unrest out there. And I like this as a EWZ and all these Brazilian stocks because they are so commodity rich, and there's a lot of weirdness going on with government. And anyway, so and it has come under stress lately, I have to say. So maybe they're looking for a little bit of an earnings swing to pick things up. So and like PBR and Valley, those are favorites of the show because it's huge institutional paper in there. Looking for commodities to pop. So I would guess they're looking for the same thing, but it does look like a big bet, a fairly big bet on earnings being good, and somehow can kind of break the logjam on the stock.
Well, we know what we're talking about on Monday's show, listeners. They're coming back to both of these. They're coming back to TPG and SID to see how they fared. These are both pretty much 1 day swings at the bat. As we keep on rolling, it is Thursday, listeners. It is time to unleash you folks. It is time for the mail block.
It's time to take your seat on the All-Star panel as we read your emails, tweets, Facebook messages, website comments, and much more. It's time for the mail block.
All right, everybody. Let's see what you folks have on the brain. First, let's pay off some of our cues that we asked you folks. We asked you folks last week, how are you adjusting your trading in light of all the various factors weighing on the market right now? Gave you 4 choices: reducing your equity holdings, buying crypto. We had good timing on that one. Bargain hunting, doing a little BTFD, or hedging your positions. And you're still in a bargain hunting mode, but less from a percentage perspective than you were back in March. When we asked this question back in March, 56% of you said you were bargain hunting. Maybe some of you a little bit burned, obviously, by what we've seen since then. So only 36% of you are bargain hunting this time. Still the winner, but not quite as demonstrably as back in March. Then about 28% each for hedging your positions and also reducing your equity holdings. So over half of you, if you add those two together, are paring things back or starting to get a little bit defensive. And 7.5% of you saying we like this opportunity to buy some crypto, even though if you heard our flash poll on the Crypto Rundown show when we asked you, is this a buying opportunity or is it just too much drama in all these crypto names? And nearly half of you said it was too much drama. You're getting the heck out of Dodge. So Intriguing stuff out there. Our actual question of the week this week, listeners, these new daily options. These things are just coming out of the gate hot. Seems like everybody loves these daily expirations and the big indices like the S and everything out there. So we're asking you, have you guys added these to your trading arsenal yet? And if so, why are you trading them? We gave you 3 choices and the infamous other. You're using them to hedge some specific event risk. So let's say the Fed, or pick your poison out there. Or you're doing some short-term speculation. You see some setups out there you want to take advantage of intraday. Or maybe you want to do a little intra-week spread action. Maybe you want to buy Wednesday, sell Monday, something along those lines. Or other. If you have an other, all we ask is that you tell us what the other is. So if it's interesting, we can discuss it here on the show. Mr. Uncle Mike, we'll start with you, sir. Why do you think our crazies are out there trading these daily expirations? Are they hedging event risk? Are they doing short-term speculation? Are they doing intra-week spreads? Or is it the infamous other, sir?
I mean, of course, you got to have the infamous other, but I think that for our listeners, it is short-term speculation. What I like for them is, talked about this a little bit on Monday, is just for short-term hedging. Because if you have an event risk that you want to hedge, buying a spread could not be a bad idea. If you want to get some type of short-term hedge in the middle of the week, it's not a bad thing a lot of times. The other thing that I'm looking to learn about and just kind of educate myself on a little bit more is some of these inter-week calendars. So like if you buy the Thursday, sell the Tuesday, that intrigues me. I haven't done anything with it yet, but it's definitely something that I'm looking into.
Yeah, I think that one intrigues me as well. I'm curious to see what our audience thinks. Mr. Rock Lobster, same question for you, sir. Why do you think our folks are throwing down with these daily expirations, sir?
I would say they're probably short-term speculating, just because they're instant gratification. Market's actually been doing daily put butterflies in his profit revolution to great success. So, I would say that's what people are doing on them. I myself like the interweek spreads. You could take our short-term weekly class in calendar trading and learn all about forward vol and all that kind of stuff, Mr. TOSAW, if you so choose. But yeah, I think the interweek spreads are a great vehicle in these products, because when you and I were market makers, Mark, we didn't have these. Like
there was one expiration a month when I was a kid, and you had to walk both ways uphill to get there.
Exactly. So we had you had monthly expiration, and then you had a monthly expiration, and you had a calendar that was the 3-4, 3-4, whatever. So far out that it would never move ever, ever, ever. So, yes, I think now that there's actual bandwidth in the exchanges, it's nice that we have all these strikes. So, I think, yeah, short term, I like it for the interweek spreads. We do a lot of that in our OP mentoring because there's a lot of opportunity because that short term is very, let's just call it's very bouncy when it comes to the vol. They can be dead and wake up very fast. So there's a lot of interesting spread possibilities with them. So I'm going to say, though, the people are saying short-term speculation, but I am saying intra-week spreads.
Interesting. I put my vote in the intra-week spreads as well. I think that's just what I would like them for. But so the Meatball's another one doing these zero data expiration flies. Every one of their mothers coming at me now with zero DTE flies. It's like the hot new thing. But let's go out here and see what our audience is up to. And you are correct. It is short-term speculation, 41.7, right around 42% pretty much for short-term speculation. Hedging event risk, number 2, 25%. Then we got a tie for third, right around 17% each for intra-week spreads and other. I like the whole buy one day, sell the other day, intra-week kind of idea. But I guess our audience not quite there yet. Let's see where you folks are right now, listeners. Here's let's do a couple. Let's do this one first from 003 TRT. He or she wants to know, the market has been mostly selling off this year, but options volume continues to increase. How is that possible? He says. Well, I know the Rock Lobster's mantra is options love a bull market, and that usually is the case, but we have seen some disruptions over the last couple of years there. Who was it? 003 TRT, including the fact that it seems like everyone and their mother and their cousin's grandmother has entered the options market since the onset of the pandemic. And a lot of them still there, even post meme palooza. Things have maybe wound down on some of that aspect, but we've seen that activity shift to other areas as a result. So nice thing about it is that the people who came into the options market, they're still kind of hanging around for the most part, which is nice. So as a result, we could see sell-offs like this, and we are still seeing record options volume. We are on pace for yet another record year. Last year was close to 10 billion contracts, didn't quite make it. And we seem like we're definitely on pace to beat that now. The ADV, the last I checked, was up somewhere around 4 to 5%, something along those lines. So it's like we are definitely on pace to make north of 10 billion contracts out there this year, which that may not sound like a lot if you're a new person to the business, but just a few years ago, we were doing 3.5, and that was a lot. So 10 billion, this is monstrous volume. So it certainly is impressive. Mr. Rock Lobster, you're the one who beats this drum of options love a bull market. So 003 TRT wants to know, how is it possible that volume is up when the market is down?
Well, I think what we have is we've had what? We've had 3 bull markets this year. I think any one of the rallies from the bottom this year, Mr. TOSAW would be quite happy with that performance. Oh, we're up 14%. Oh, we're up 16%. Oh, we're like, I would be happy with that on a year for equity returns. And I think we've had 3 of them from the bottom this year. So we have had mini bull markets or mini, just insane rallies after the sell-offs. So, and I always like my favorite stat. So when I first started trading, this is how old I am, okay? The total volume on the PSE exchange was less than the at-the-money weekly in Apple is currently. So the whole exchange traded less volume than Apple does on an average weekly day. Like, so today, the Nova 18, 152.5 trade is 71,000 contracts, okay? That would be a good day on the PSE way back when. And that's a whole exchange. I remember seeing like 1 million contracts a day for all the exchanges was huge. It was huge volume way back then. So, and I think the front month Apple Weekly does that now today. So just listeners, to put things in perspective on how much the business and the volume has grown.
Uncle Mike, anything to add there? Markets are down, but volume is up, sir. How is that possible?
Options love a bull market, and that's a very good insight by Andrew, in that we've had several of them this year. Unfortunately, they're mixed in with bear markets. So that's definitely one thing. But I think the other thing, when you have, and I haven't researched the volume, it's really not conducive to what I do typically, but when you have sharp sell-offs, there's going to be people that are rolling their puts that are going to be putting in new hedges and things like that. So I think that's adding to it as well. And then the other thing, when you have such high volatility, when the VIX is so high, it's mighty tempting for the degenerate premium sellers out there to want to sell some juice. And so I think that attracts them to the market as well. So I think it's a combination of a few things, but Andrew's multiple bull market theory is very interesting. I think I'm going with that.
Multiple mini bull markets within the broader bear trend. Looks like we got the Flow Master in the chat. He is backing me up. He says 10.25 billion contracts is a safe estimate for this year. So there we go. Looks like we are pretty much on track for north of 10 billion, which would be a record year. And scientifically, a heck of a lot of volume, listeners. As we keep on rolling into our final segment, it is time to go around the block.
It's time to tell you what we'll be watching on our trading screens until the next episode. It's time for Around the Block.
All right, everybody. Welcome to Around the Block, the portion of the show where we tell you what to keep an eye on, or what we're keeping an eye on, I should say, until our next episode. Remember, if you want a little more Uncle Mike in your life, don't go anywhere if you're one of the pro folks listening live, because we'll be coming back immediately, because Uncle Mike hates me. He insists there's no rest for my voice. We're going immediately into TWIFO after OB, so there will be no respite. So right on into the next show. But before we do that, Mr. Uncle Mike, sir, what are you keeping an eye on for the rest of the week until Monday's show?
Sorry, I was resting my voice.
Yes. Welcome to my world, sir.
No, just continuing to 3,900. We're back around that level again. Or not around it. We were at it earlier today, so that's kind of been a magnet number for the stock market and the S&P. So watching to see if we can continue to do that, seeing if we can get a little bit more follow through on the rally in the bond market. And honestly, that's about it right now. Just waiting for the next big announcement to come out to make the market go one way or another, because markets are like that these days.
Mr. Rocklops, same question for you while you're counting all your FTT tokens. What are you keeping an eye on until Monday's show?
How do I count that high?
You just start at 0 and then you stay there.
I guess so. It just saddens my heart, that stuff. But 3,900, 4,000. Are we going to just sit here and ping pong around? And we are threatening the danger zone here on a daily basis, and it's really odd because there's just not a lot of at least this week there's not a lot of reason for it. I will add though, one of my suppositions this year is this is an extremely volatile year for realized vol. Like underlyings are just moving crazy town. So why won't VIX go down? 30-day vol and the SPX is almost 29. So we need, we would need a week or 2 or 3 weeks of just sustained, not much going on before, we get some willing vol sellers. So I think that's the market we have. So if you start to see VIX really taking a dive, maybe toward 22, 21, you might believe this rally at least a little bit, a little bit longer. We might hold Mr. TOSAW's 3,900.
So you're saying 15 by June? That's what you're saying. If I read between the lines. 15, baby. Here we come. Roll those bones. Unfortunately, listeners, that music means there's no more bone rolling to be done here on the old OB. Like I said, if you need more living in your lives, you listen to live, never fear. We'll be back instantaneously with a little bit of the old Twifo coming at you about a half hour earlier today. But before we do that, around the horn we go. Uncle Mike, if folks want to check you out after these episodes of the show, where should they go? What should they do?
Follow me on Twitter at Mike TOSAW. And if you're looking for a financial advisor, go to stcharleswealth.com. Set up an appointment with me. Would love to talk with you.
There you go. Unless you want to call him up about Bitcoin, then he has said he will call the authorities on you. So don't call him if you want to buy a little bit of the old BTC or, God forbid, FTT tokens. Mr. Rocklops, the same question. If folks want to talk to the Fun Ted, where should they go? What should they do? I should say the Fun Andrew.
Yep. The Fun Andrew. Talk to the Fun Andrew or Ted, 888-TRADE-01. And you get 10% off. Also tonight, if you hear this, my good friend and compadre Bill Griffo is going to talk about those 0 DTE options in his new product, Win the Week, which shows you how to trade the short-term gamma. So it's a great product. If you want to learn how to trade short-term options, it is a great intro. And he will be introducing that product tonight, I believe 7 p.m. prior to the football game. So go to the Option Pivot homepage and click sign up and check it out.
Get in there, get out before the football game, and get on with your lives. We got to get on with our network shows, listeners, which was, of course, an early dose of Twifo. So all you live folks, I should say, hang out. We'll be back there post-haste. All you on-demand folks will get it, of course, when it hits the network. Back again tomorrow, noon Central, 1 p.m. Actually, no, I take that back. There's more living. They're working me to death this week, listeners. After that, we're coming back. You guys have questions about crypto. We got the answers with our pro Q&A session with Greg Magadini from Genesis Volatility, now Amber Data. This got acquired out there on the crypto analytics side to answer all your questions about crypto skew and vol and everything else. So my producers hate me, listeners. My voice will just keep on going for days. But you guys get an embarrassment of content, especially if you're here hanging out on the pro side. Come join us, as it is time for us now to keep on rolling right on into Twifo.
You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com.